You know, folks, this story about the plane from Qatar is not going to go away for a while, and I think it should be an even bigger story than it is because we're truly in uncertain times now. But one thing that is for certain is that we have a president who is for sale. And he's made that very clear. You know, back when I was growing up, I used to watch wrestling in the 80s. It was the era of Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man, and Andre the Giant. Although I was more of an NWA guy, I liked the Rock and Roll Express in the Midnight and Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. That was my jam. But anyway, on the WWF side, there was a character called the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase, and his gimmick was that he would bribe his opponents and pay them off, or if he was going up against a tag team, you know, he might pay off the partner, he might pay off the ref to do a double cross, and he would pull people up out of the crowd and have them do very humiliating things, and tell them that then his punchline would be, everybody's got a price for the $1 million man. Everyone will humiliate themselves for me. And for a long time, I've compared Donald Trump to that character because that's kind of how he plays his base. He sees just how low they'll go and just how far they will humiliate themselves for him. But in turn, he's not the $1 million man on the world stage. Instead, he's actually just the opposite. He's the person that's willing to sell himself out. He's the person that's willing to go against everything he previously said for whoever gives him a luxurious gift or whoever, strokes his ego. And I feel like that's a very dangerous place to be. We have disqualified people years ago and said they didn't have the temperament to be president for a whole lot less. And I've talked before here on the channel about the Howard Deans of the world who just screamed at a rally and his career was over. Or, Dan Quayle misspelling potato. There's been so many reasons why that we have completely just wrote someone off in the political theater. But yet here we are with a president who has no regard for the rule of law, no regard for the Supreme Court, no regard for any court, is just running rampant over the Constitution, and is taking what blatantly looks like a bribe from a country who has funded Hamas. And to the people on both sides of that argument that was either pro-Israel or pro-Palestine or somewhere in the middle, you didn't think Kamala or Joe Biden did enough on that subject or whatever the case may be, this is the solution, Donald Trump. This is what we tried to warn everyone about. This guy is for sale. He will absolutely sell himself out and whore himself out to the highest bidder. And now he has had a couple of people in MAGA. We covered in a previous video how that Laura Loomer was going off about this, but she always made sure she said she would take a bullet for him because she didn't want to get booted off Twitter again, so she had to say that twice. But there's more. There's more people that are starting to come out, and one that kind of surprised me, in all honesty, was Ben Shapiro. So yeah, we're going to take a look here at this clip of what Ben Shapiro had to say about this, and then there's some more people that's on Trump's side, usually defends him to the death, but even they realize the problem that this truly is for our country. So let's take a look first at this clip of Ben Shapiro.
Trump administration is now preparing to accept a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet from the royal family of Qatar. It is a $400 million gift available for use by President Trump as new Air Force One until shortly before he leaves office, at which time, according to the deal, the plane doesn't stay with the United States government. It then moves to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation, taking sacks of goodies from people who support Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, Al Jazeera, all the rest. That's not America first. Like, please define America first in a way that says you should take sacks of cash from the Qatari royals who are behind Al Jazeera. It just isn't America first in any conceivable way. So back to the original question. Is this good for President Trump? Is it good for his agenda? Is it good for draining the swamp and getting things done? The answer is no, it isn't. It isn't. If you want President Trump to succeed, this kind of skeezy stuff needs to stop.
See, I may not agree with everything that Ben Shapiro says. There is a whole lot of things that I disagree with him on. Honestly can't think of very much we do agree on except what he just said right there. I don't think that Ben Shapiro is a stupid man at all. I think he's smart. And I think he sees through it. And I think he also realizes that he's going to have a career after all of this is over. And he's going to have to be able to keep an audience after all this is over. And so I think a lot of them are going to have to ask themselves, they have to think about the long term here. They have to think about their long game. Because are you going to sit here and just constantly defend this crap? Or are you going to start to break from it and walk away from it so you can have a life once he moves on and once he's out of the political arena? Like Ben Shapiro said, and it feels really weird to be agreeing with anything he said, but how is it putting America first? It goes against everything that Donald Trump says and said on the campaign trail, goes against all of it. And of course, I could fall down into the whole well of talking about how that if Obama had have accepted a plane from a Middle Eastern country, Fox News would have came off its axis. We could always do the what ifs. But for a lot of these people, the question is going to be, how long are you going to hang with this dude when he's saying something that goes against everything that he ever preached? And as he goes against everything that he ever preached, he's actually strengthening our argument, which is he's a whore who will sell himself out to anyone who doesn't actually believe in any of the things he's saying. And I don't think he's ever read the Constitution of the United States. I know he's not read the Bible. He admitted to that. He doesn't know what the Declaration of Independence is all about. He said it was about unity. It was about love. Whenever he is trapped or cornered in any of this stuff, he makes an absolute fool of himself. And so the question becomes, in the final stage of Waco, who's going to stay in the fire at this particular point? Who's going to ride it out with David Koresh? Who's going to stay at Jonestown? Who's going to creepy crawl for Charles Manson? That's kind of where we're at this point. And to the people that are still hanging with Trump, I do have a book over here in my shelf called Creepy Crawling. Good book if you like the Manson family or like studying the Manson family. You've got to be careful how I word that one. I'm not saying you should like them, but you could read the book. But to the ones who are still hanging with Trump at this point, they're the creepy crawlers to me. They're the ones who are outside the courtroom saying he's innocent. And Rand Paul, who I'm not a fan of either, and could make the rest of my video career just be talking about my disagreements with Rand Paul, he sees the problem in this too, and here he is talking about it.
A gimme putt, and the Constitution in Article 2 talks about the president can't take emoluments or gifts from foreign leaders. And so there is a provision in the Constitution that says you can't do this. And so the question is, can you do it if it's only for official purposes? If it came to someone in Congress, they can vote and the Ethics Committee can look at it. With his, there will have to be some kind of adjudication. This has never been done, and it's not like a ride on the plane. We're talking about the entire $400 million plane. I think it's not worth the appearance of impropriety. Whether it's improper or not, I don't think it's worth it. The other problem with Qatar is, see, I've spent time trying not to sell weapons to Qatar because they have human rights violations of their people. Many of their people are prevented from participating in the government, and some of the minority religious folks in Qatar are treated poorly. And so I really haven't been a big fan, and I wonder if our ability to judge their human rights record would be clouded by the fact of this large gift.
Did you notice how he said that it goes against the Constitution? But then the question becomes, he says, can you do it for official purposes? You know, if I could get on a time machine and go back in time and talk with the founding fathers and talk with the authors of the United States Constitution, I would say to them, you know, you really better word this different, because if you say that anyone who was involved in an insurrection shall not hold office or shall not be elected, someone's going to come in and say, well, it says they can't be elected. It doesn't say they can't serve. I sat here and quoted the 14th Amendment till I damn near had the thing memorized. It was clear as a bell to me that Donald Trump should not be on the ballot. But there were people who still said, well, it says he's got to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, but it doesn't say he has to agree with it. It doesn't say that he has to go. I'm like, so if I could go back in time, I'd say, listen, you all are really going to have to make this perfectly clear that a treasonous traitor cannot hold office, be elected to office, sit outside the office. He can't DoorDash food to the guy that's in office later. I mean, I know they didn't have all that knowledge back then, but really when you think about it and you see just how far the right will go to bastardize the Constitution, you say to yourself, damn, I thought it was pretty clear to me, and I'm just a hillbilly who went to a poor high school in Southeast Kentucky, and I got it. But there's people sitting around debating this, and they're debating it for political purposes, and that's why Rand Paul left himself an out there. But he sees through it, and so does that Pee Wee Herman lookalike Jesse Waters, who sits there and defends his shit. I promise you, he's sweating bullets going, how are we going to spin this one? Oh my God. And they tell him how, and he goes up there and says it. Just like they do in the WWE when they hand him a script and say, hey, go tell him you're going to kick Roman Reigns' ass. It's the same thing. He's sitting there trying to figure out, as Rand Paul's talking, okay, how do I spin this next? But they see through it. They know that it's wrong. They realize that if Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, any Democrat in the world did this, they realize they would be absolutely going for their throat. So they got to find a way. Well, does it say for official purposes in the Constitution? It's so ridiculous. And it's so ridiculous to sit back and watch Donald Trump go against everything he preached. Sometimes I say to myself, we have listened to him more than his own flock because we go, that's not what you've been for this entire time. But they're okay with it. He'd be stupid turn down a gift like that, man. And they're some of the most conspiracy-minded people ever. They really are. But sometimes this stuff brings out conspiracy theorists in me, and I catch myself saying, are we really going to trust a plane like that? Are we going to trust them to give us a plane that ain't absolutely bugged all to hell? Is this not a national security risk too? There's so many questions to be had about this one, and there's so many angles of thought on it. And the mainstream media needs to be doing a better job of covering this and getting these stories out, because I'm watching people on YouTube and TikTok make more sense about this than I am the mainstream. This isn't about, well, should he be allowed? Should he not be allowed? Is it official? Is it unofficial? No. This isn't normal, okay? And if we could look at Donald Trump and say that more, that is why, shout out to the Midas Touch Network, they just won a Webby Award. And the reason why they won that award and the reason why their podcast has kicked Joe Rogan's ass so many times now is because people just want somebody that will say, hey, this isn't normal. Hey, this is wrong. It's not hard. How do you resonate with people? You tell them, you just tell them you tell them the truth. And you tell them what they were already sitting there thinking, because people are sitting back going, this is fucking weird. Even on both sides, okay? Even on both sides of the aisle. I promise you, somewhere is a good old boy. He won't admit it to me in a million years, but he's sitting there going, oh shit, like how do I spin this one? I better turn on Jesse Waters real quick and get the scoop on how I'm supposed to spin this when Brando confronts me at the bar and says, hey, what about you, dude, taking that plane? Well, he'd be stupid to turn it down. It's going to be we're 4 months into this damn thing. This is where we should have been at the 4-year mark. But here we are, 4 months in. Jesus Christ. I really appreciate y'all for being here with me. I appreciate you supporting what it is that I do. We will keep calling this out. We will not back down. We will not be silenced. We will not be stopped. It's not going to happen. Because American democracy is too important to me. I can't shut up about it now. I played music for 25 years, and all I ever intended to do, folks, was just sit on a bar stool with an acoustic guitar and sing you some Merle Haggard. And I would have done that and been left the hell alone if it wasn't for the fact that somebody came along, a group of people, and decided to burn everything that the Founding Fathers and my grandfather fought for to the ground. And I would much rather be sitting here talking to you than sitting there trying to play wagon wheel to a bunch of people that wouldn't even listen to me to start with. So I'm glad to be in this chair, and I will be till the last drop of oxygen leaves my lungs. I promise you that.